by building it in the process, and you know where that goes. And it's pretty powerful. You're thanking God, a personal deity perhaps. You worship that deity. For the sun, the birds, nature, the universe, having a day off from work so you can go hiking, all of that. And gratitude comes quite naturally. As a matter of fact, if you look at religious traditions, I'm thinking particularly of Orthodox Judaism, gratitude is there every minute almost. Well, every other minute, because the other minute you're asking God for help. But then you're thanking God. You're thanking God when you wake up. If you're ultra-Orthodox, you're thanking God if you're a man. If you weren't born a woman, and so on and so forth. Constant thanking God for everything that comes your way. Now, what happens if in a secular experience of coming down that hill? Does the gratitude go away? If you look at the writers, the gratitude does go away. Almost no secular writer writes about gratitude unless they're trying to explain that you should thank this person for this gift this person gave you, and how do you express gratitude towards that person. There's only a handful of writers who have done that. But what happens is a whole set of feelings and emotions and attitudes is virtually missing from secular culture. It's just not there. And my question is, what happens if we don't let it go so fast? What happens if we pay attention to it? What happens if we say, wait, that feeling of gratitude is about something. What is it? Explore the feeling of gratitude without God, and guess what you come to? You come to your dependence. We depend on the sun for our very survival. We depend on the universe, the solar system. We depend on nature. The birds chirping may remind us of that. We depend, and the body of water, the little lake. We depend on all of natural history, all of the history of living beings, 3.6 billion years, and all of human history, of which we are products. We're products, so much of human history, that as we think, we're thinking with tools that aren't our own. As we feel, we're feeling in a framework that comes to us culturally. As we take a day off to go on a hike, we're part of a social system that makes that possible. As we put on our clothes that morning, we're part of a global economy that we depend on. And what I'm suggesting is that it's natural to feel gratitude for all that we depend on. More than that, that dependency is a key to who we are. It's a key to who we are because who we are belongs. We belong to the universe. We belong to natural history. We belong to human history. We belong to a global economy. And that belonging is, I'm suggesting, our most fundamental relationship. So what am I saying here? I'm saying some of us, let's say, left religion, if some of us did, in the fashion of Albert Camus. You know, the Myth of Sisyphus. How many of you have read that? Oh, well, okay, I'll say a little bit about it. The world is absurd. there I said a little bit about it. That is to say, without God, the world makes no sense. That's Kant. Without God, I'm alone longing, but my longing can't be fulfilled. And that's the essence of Camus, the agnostic, talking about living without God. And he does it quite seriously, quite intelligently, quite powerfully, in a framework in which he has no sense of belonging to anything beyond himself, in which he senses himself as an isolated being in an absurd universe. And what I'm saying is that the true picture of who we are is not there, does not lie there. If we want to talk about who we are, we have to open to a very different dimension, and it's the dimension of all the ways in which we belong. So that the proper, and many of us have involved ourselves in this as secularists, the proper kind of Thanksgiving celebration is, of course, not thanking a deity for what we have, but is actually to do something that's kind of interesting. To begin to think specifically about all that has made and continues to make our life possible. Now, if you take a yoga class, sometimes you will be asked to think about how you connect with all of nature and all of the universe, all that is beyond you. And actually what I'm saying is not so far from that, except what I want to say is we need to do it specifically. Specifically, not vaguely. We need to say specifically, what is it that makes and made me who I am? What is it that nourishes me moment to moment and day to day? What is it that I am connected to? What is my map of dependency? And that map of dependency, seeing it entails really sort of opening our eyes and beginning to describe all of the dimensions of our existence. So this notion of now, immediately you'll say to yourself, well, wait a second. Be grateful, but I don't feel so grateful. First of all, I feel discriminated against, exploited, humiliated, shortchanged by social and political forces, and I feel, in addition, instead of gratitude, I feel resentment and anger. I'm saying, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Just as we Americans know that Barack Obama as president, once he's elected, is going to be not immediately plunging into all of the change that he talked about as candidate, but probably doing a lot of things that sound very much like the old days in American politics. In other words, just as we're aware that we ought to be cynical about what's going to happen, we also know that this was a great moment in American history and we ought to celebrate. And what I said to my friends celebrating is, tomorrow we'll be cynical. Today we celebrate. It was a big event. And I want to say that about the gratitude. Today be grateful, recognize our dependency, recognize all the forces that make us who we are, and then be aware that our belonging is never equal. That some people are more privileged than others, and that we may be both more privileged than many others, and others may be far more privileged than we are. And that part of seeing our connectedness with the rest of the universe and with the rest of society entails mapping where we stand socially.